Mr. Siller, thank you for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to interview with the Blue Magazine. We know you're very busy, and we appreciate you stopping out of everything you're doing to talk to us. So thank you very much for that, sir.
You're welcome.
Let's just get into this. I'd like to ask you, can you tell me, who is Frank Siller? Tell me your, we know how the charity started, but if you give us a real quick synopsis on how that started, and we know that you've turned this into a massive charity, so I want to just start with, who is Frank Siller?
Well, Frank Siller is one of 7 children to May and George Siller. I was the closest in age to my brother Stephen, the hero who ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel on September 11, 2001. My siblings and I were taught very early on in life by my parents about sacrifice and doing for others. So we grew up in a family that was taught that the only way that you really heal is by helping others, and that's really the premise of the whole foundation, that after what Stephen did, made that ultimate sacrifice on that fateful day, that we decided to, he inspired his older siblings to do good. And not just in memory of what he did, but in memory of what everyone did that day, and even, yes, most certainly our first responders. But think about all the stories of people who just went to work that day that were helping people and saving people, you know, out of those buildings. It just, the story of Wells Crowler, the man in the red bandana, that story alone is so heroic. And but there's so many of those stories. And our foundation, most certainly, you know, we want to make sure our first mission is to never forget and to honor the sacrifice, and that's what we do. So I'm just one of 7 people that were taught how to live their life in a very simple but in a very meaningful way.
Awesome. Mr. Siller, how has this organization, Tunnels to Towers, how has this changed your life?
Well, you know, because it changed my, I have a good life. I had a good life, you know, prior to 9/11. You know, 9/11 changed everything for my family. And not just for me, but most, you know, think of all the 2,977 families that were affected by it. Think of this, over 7,000 men and women in uniform that went to, you know, how many people went to war to protect us so we didn't have another attack here on our soil. But we lost over 7,000 of those great heroes. Think of all those families that it's been effective. And so it's changed my life, is that I've got to meet these great families that have paid such a big price for our freedom here. And I've had the honor to bring people together as a foundation, as the chairman and the CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, to bring people together to help these families that are left behind, or if you're catastrophically injured, you know, to build these smart homes that we're building all across the country for our most catastrophically injured service members and first responders. So it's been an incredible journey.
Mr. Siller, please explain to us about the smart homes with the catastrophically injured members. What exactly do you guys do? Do you repair homes or re-outfit them, or start from scratch? How does it work exactly?
Well, we do all the above.
Okay.
But when we first started to do it, so in 2009, the first ever quadruple amputee that ever survived any war was from Staten Island, where you are today. Really? Yes, Sergeant Brendan Morocco.
Okay.
And when we heard about him, you know, some of us at the foundation, I went down to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, which was in D.C. at the time, and now is in Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay.
And I went and I spent some time with Brendan and his family, and his father said to me, "Can you talk to Brendan privately?" He was struggling. I mean, come on, the guy just lost 4 limbs. Could you imagine?
No.
You know, and could you imagine what the family's going through? So I did. I spoke to him, and as I was talking to him, I said, "Hey, you know what, Brendan? Can the Tunnel to Towers Foundation build you a home? You know, here back on Staten Island?" And he said, "Frank, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to move back to Staten Island." So, you know, in my head right then I said, well, what's the difference to us, right? We're going to build homes for this great hero, right? We need to build him a house. We want it to be mortgage-free, obviously. I said, "Brendan, we'll build it wherever you want." He goes, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You'll build it wherever I want?" I said, "Yes, Brendan, we'll build it wherever you want." He goes, wherever I want. I said, yes, Brendan, wherever you want. He goes, even Hawaii? I said, yes, even Hawaii.
That's great.
He trained in Hawaii, but so maybe in the back of his head he might have thought that he would go back there. But so during that process, I said he probably wants to be around the hospital, around Walter Reed, because I mean he ended up having over 100 surgeries. This great hero, and so now we're building. He accepts. He accepts as and he ends up coming back to Staten Island. So I find a lot for him on Staten Island. We start building a house. And we had this guy, Bobby Fomani. He's a firefighter, FDNY guy.
Okay.
And he was framing up the house. We know the guy, Bobby, and he was doing the roof and, firefighter. And we had all these people coming to help us. Now, we had a lot of meetings and they just didn't show up. We had it coordinated. But this one guy started to show up all the time. This guy, John Ponte, he had a smart home business where he put all these amenities into a house that would be needed for certain injuries or whatever it may be. So he starts coming and he says, Frank, how about if I put in we can lower the cabinets and we can do it off an iPad or a button, and so that when they're in a wheelchair they can make something for themselves or get something out of a cabinet or lower the stove and they can make something on the stove. I said, put it in, John.
Do it,
exactly. A couple days later, a week later, whatever, he comes back and he says, Frank, how about we can control the blinds, the heating, the air conditioning, the lights. So when if he's in his bed and he wants it a little bit cooler, a little bit warmer, whatever it may be, he could just do it in his bed because, you figure putting your body together, 4 prosthetics you got to put on, to get up and do something like that takes an hour.
That's right.
It takes an hour.
You don't think about that.
So I said, do it, John. And he kept on coming up with the ideas. And I said, John, you are now the project manager of this house, and put in whatever you can possibly put in to make this great hero's life more independent and easier for him and his caretaker. And we built a very smart home. I like to say I wasn't so smart to build a smart home, but I had smart people come around me, and I certainly was smart enough to take their knowledge and put it into the house. So, and now this guy, John Ponte, leaves his business and comes and works for the foundation for, I can't even tell you how little I paid this guy.
Right.
It was embarrassing, but he just wanted to be part of
something great.
Of something, yeah. He was a Navy vet himself, and now he's in charge of building these houses all over the United States, John Ponte. So it's quite another miracle that happened. So every one of these houses, the question is, telling you something about these smart homes, they're designed for the individual injuries that the great hero has.
Okay.
So if you're a double, triple amputee, you're quadriplegic, paraplegic, traumatic brain injury, whatever the situation is, we design the house
around the injuries.
Around the injuries. There's some things that need apparatuses coming off the ceilings to help them get out of the bed, and into the bathroom. The bathrooms are phenomenal.
I was just going to ask about the bathrooms. They have special things too, obviously.
Of course, this way they could take care of themselves. They have to ask somebody to come in and take care of them. Come on.
No.
Think about that, right? No, but these bathrooms, you don't have to ask anything. Take a shower in there, and just it gives them great freedoms and stuff. So.
And they feel independent again.
100%. The most independent people in the world, right? They don't want to ask anybody for help.
These are warriors.
These are
warriors, and so. Wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic. How many smart homes would you think that you guys have built to date? You have an idea?
Well. So I'll put it to you this way: we've done over 1,200 mortgage-free homes so far, but not all smart homes, right? We are going to deliver 40 smart homes this year.
Wow!
All right, all of it. But next year it's going to be 60, and the year after is going to be 80. And that's how many are still waiting. That's how many are still waiting for a smart home. That we have right now a couple hundred on our waiting list. A couple of hundred. And each one of these houses, you think what a lot costs, right? So each house is about 2,500 square feet. We build the same size for everybody. The lots, you know what a piece of property costs today? It's a couple of $100,000, easy.
Just for land.
Just for land itself.
Right.
And then, you know, it costs $300 a square foot.
Right?
You know what I
to
mean?
Build,
to build a house, especially these houses, because first of all, we only put the best quality houses together. You know, I would
top shelf.
everything, because how could you not?
They deserve it, these men.
They earned it, right?
Absolutely.
This isn't charity. They earned it.
Yeah.
And so we only built, and we built it to last, obviously, for obvious reasons. And but we do have so many partners that come on and help with so many of these houses. Home Depot has been a phenomenal partner. General Motors, a phenomenal partner in building all these smart homes. Carpet One, Mohawk. Mohawk gives us all the flooring. Carpet One installs them. You know, so it's beautiful to watch all the trades come together.
I love it. Mr. Siller, how do you find out about a specific person that needs a home? How does that process start to finish, and how long does that take approximately?
Well, I'll start the second part first. We don't know how long it takes, because each one you have to find the land.
Specific.
Yeah, right. So, you know, sometimes it's longer than others. We just had 3 great heroes in Tennessee, and around Franklin, Tennessee.
Okay.
And we were looking for lots for these guys, so I found a triple lot that we were able to build. We're going to build 3 houses, but it took forever to close and get the approvals on it. You know, and we protect them all to make sure that the land is going to be good land forever, not in the wetlands or anything like that.
Right,
so
of course.
It's extensive. So that is the longest part of the process.
Okay.
Is
so
to
finding the property, the land.
Find the property where they're happy, where they want to live. You know, I said that before, Brenda Morocco, right? The first house.
I can go to Hawaii, baby.
Yeah. So we don't put beachfront property, right? We don't do that. We do draw limits.
Yeah,
you know
of course.
What I mean? Because we do.
You have a budget.
We have a budget, and some places are more expensive to build than others. So some of them come in $100,000 less, and some come in $100,000 more. But we do primarily have a budget in each one of these houses. So you could do the math.
I understand.
You know, they're not cheap.
No. Well, not on the East Coast anyway, right?
Not everywhere.
I was going to ask you, I wanted to jump ahead to, and I think it's a newer project, the condo complexes that you're building for homeless veterans. Can you tell us how that started? And I was just told that you're starting a new project in Florida on that.
Yeah, we're going to. So the homeless veteran program. So we've been wanting to do something for the homeless veteran.
It's fantastic what you're doing, by the way.
Yeah, it's so needed.
Oh my God!
I mean, these guys went to war for us. I mean, you know, come on.
Right.
You know, they come back, and for whatever reason, they can't assimilate back into society. You know, shame on us if we leave them.
Of course.
And just walk away from them. We can't do that. And that, we decided as a foundation. But I'll tell you, the biggest struggle was not saying yes, we're going to make and put them a roof over their heads. The biggest part of the struggle, in which we talked about privately, just before we started this interview, was the mental health side of it. Because you just can't put a roof over their heads. You got to make sure that they get all the comprehensive services they need to stay off the street.
Exactly.
And to get back into society, go get a job. You know what I mean? To work again, be productive. They want to be, but they have to cross that hurdle. And the peer-to-peer, the support mechanism is tremendous. So we have case managers for each one of them to make sure that they're getting the help and everything they need. So we wanted to do it, but we were worried about whether or not we can undertake that tremendous responsibility to not just build these villages and get these great heroes off the street, but to make sure that they get all the help that they need. And finally, I said, we're going to do it. And I said, you know why nobody else is doing it? Because it's hard. It's so hard. And shame on us if it's just that we say it's too hard for us to do. That's unacceptable. And the board...
I love it.
The board just like that said, you're right, let's go, let's do it. And the board, meaning my siblings,
okay,
and the former fire commissioner of the FDNY, Salvatore Cassano, and another retired battalion chief, John LaBarbera, besides my siblings, that is the, there's
That's the group?
5, yeah, that's it. There's 7 of us, 5 siblings left. My brother Russ, God rest his soul, the oldest brother, passed away a few years ago.
I'm sorry.
And Stephen was killed in
obviously.
9/11. So, but we have a working board. Besides an advisory board, we have a board in the middle of like 40 of them that all unanimously said, let's do it. And the other one's raising the money and doing the hard work to do it.
And was the first one? It was in Houston. Is that correct?
Yeah. So while I want you to know that we work, that was the first homeless village, veteran village facility. Mm-hmm. But while we're doing that, we're working with one-on-one all around America. We have over 1,000 nonprofits we work with. And like I said, we have case managers. So let's just say somebody finds out there's a homeless veteran in their community in Dallas. They could call us and say, we have a homeless, I know so-and-so, my brother, whatever, whoever, a cousin, friend is homeless. And we could track down that great hero and get them into an apartment. And we take care of all the fees and everything, and we get it all set up for them, and then we get that case manager works to make sure they get to the VA and they get everything, all the health benefits and everything else.
And they're on top of their meds, or if need be.
Everything. So we have it. We have a whole mental health program. We inside Tunnel to Towers, we have a whole mental health program run by a great doctor who has a team under them to make sure that we can answer questions properly and get them the right help. It's a tremendous undertaking, but before we even mentioned it to the public, we were working on it for a couple of years, because once we hit the ground, we wanted to hit the ground running, and we have. So last year, we did 3,500 homeless vets off the streets. 3,500. We're on target for this year, for 2024, over 5,000 homeless vets off the street. 5,000. So, yeah, and we have either bought or under contract for 15 different locations with different hotels that we bought that we're renovating in different cities around America for these villages, where we also build comfort homes. Now, what is a comfort home? Comfort home is not as a tiny home, all right, because there are tiny homes out there, 100 square feet, 150 square feet. These are approximately 500 square foot homes that have their own bathroom, kitchen, and bedroom in it, and they can live. It's like an apartment, a nice size, apartment that they can live in. And it's their own freestanding structure. So at these villages where we have apartments in the second, the third, the fourth, or fifth floor that we're buying these hotels, and on the first floor it's all those comprehensive services that we were talking about there, right? All those comprehensive services, help, job training, addiction, make sure they get the help, everything, soup to nuts, right? Got it. Now on the premises, in these locations, we are like the one in Houston. We're building, I think it's 40 comfort homes we're putting on it. So these older veterans, Vietnam veterans, etc., my age, they get their own spot right there. And they live not independently, because they're part of this village or this community that we're building. And there's nothing better than a veteran to sit with a veteran, a cop sit with a cop, firefighter sit with a cop. I don't know if that works.
Yes, they do.
I know it does. I know. Better than to sit and to be around others that have certainly have gone through the same thing.
I love it. So let me jump to. Let's say a police officer gets killed, for example, in the state of California, and you guys want to do something for the family. How do you guys find out about that police officer getting killed? Is there feedback? Is there people that report into you? I just was wondering exactly how you hear about everything.
Well, first of all, we get a Google alert on everything.
Okay.
Every time there's something like that, we're on top of every situation in America.
Nationwide. Got it.
So if there's a shootout or whatever it may be, we find out about it immediately.
Good.
All right. So that's number one. Number two is I would think most every police or law enforcement in America, right? People, you know, wherever department it is, know about Tunnel to Towers. They should know about us. And now that we've helped so many, they know right away. Pick up the phone and they call us, and we're already on it.
And that's how it's happening now.
And that's how it's happening.
Got it.
Both
Okay.
ways. Both ways.
I was curious how that process went. That's all. Yeah.
So understand that when I get this call, or my team gets a call, we have John Houvain, who's in charge of our in the line of duty program, who gets these calls. He's a retired detective here in New York. He used to be on some big details, one of which was Rudy Giuliani's detail during 9/11.
Okay.
All right. So he talks to them right away. We get the liaison phone number. All right, there's a liaison right away as soon as you guys lose somebody, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, or we get the chief. We get the chief, and we contact him right away. And within a day or two, I'm usually calling the widow to let them know that they're not going to have to worry about their mortgage. I'm not saying I pay it off that day.
Yeah, but the process starts.
Not only process starts, and she's relieved to know that she'll never make another mortgage payment.
That's
because
amazing.
even if we don't have the money or raise the money at that point to do it, we take over the mortgage immediately.
Wow.
So they'll never make another payment. They'll never make another payment.
That's such a stress release for this family that you're doing. That's amazing.
Well, you think about it, right? They just lost their loved one, and you're going to think you're going to have to take your kids out of the house where you're making all the dreams happening, and you're going to have to move them now with everything else going on. It's unacceptable. Again, unacceptable. And we know that that's unacceptable. So we want to bring them that mental relief immediately, you know, to let them know that you're going to be able to stay in the house. And it's an unbelievable emotional conversation I have with all these widows. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke to 7 widows in 1 week. 7 of them. Remember when we lost the 4 down in North Carolina?
Yeah.
That were shot. You lost Diller here out in Long Island.
Jonathan Diller.
Jonathan Diller
Right.
out in Long Island, and then we lost someone up in Syracuse, Hustock. We got
Okay.
and so you know. Anyway, I spoke to 7 of them in a matter of days, and I told them, you know, Tunnel to Towers. It was very emotional for me to talk to them. But could you imagine the families that are going through it? It's incredible. But it's an honor to speak to them. It is an honor to speak to them and let them know. And then we get to meet them later on in person and hug them and let them know they're not alone. Part of it is not just paying off the mortgage. Let them know they're always going to be part of the Blue family or the fire department's family, you know, the military family. They're always going to have that. You guys will always have their back. But they're also going to be part of Tunnel to Towers family. And we have so many events, and we're part of the healing process where we teach them, or we show them, not teach them, where they see by themselves that the best way to heal is by going out and helping the next person. And you can't believe how many of them, once they realize that their mortgage is paid, I want to help the next person. And they do.
Fantastic. I wanted to jump ahead to mental health, Mr. Siller.
Yeah, you must know me well then. No.
We here at the Blue Magazine, we have a charity called Moment of Silence where we try to, our main objective is to stop police officers from committing suicide. We believe that there's a pandemic in law enforcement right now resulting in cops committing suicide, and there's a million reasons out there, but my question to you would be, what's your thoughts on law enforcement suicide, and does Tunnel to Towers, would they also help a family of a police officer that ended up committing suicide?
So yes, we would most certainly help a family, not necessarily financially, but like I said, we have a whole mental health department here at Tunnel to Towers, and we have a lot of kids in our program. A lot of kids are in our program because... When you say kids, do you mean? Children of victim, of the officer that gave their life in the line of duty. And we do help families that in exactly this situation, that whose loved one committed suicide. Because you know why, I can't say exactly why they committed suicide, but we know it's because of the everyday pressures
Right.
of what they're going through. And today's society, with our law enforcement, the lack of respect from different communities is utterly disgusting. That being said, we try to change that, but the thing is to be there for the families, most certainly. So, if anyone ever called us and had any needed help on the mental health side, if we couldn't help them directly, I could promise you we have the wherewithal, the outreach to different groups and different around the country
to get help
to make sure they get the help and to follow up and once again bring them into our family.
Love it. Mr. Siller, was there a specific case that sticks out in your mind? Now, I know they're all very important to you, but I was just wondering if there was just one story that really sticks in your mind about what you guys done and how you've changed some people's lives.
Well, look, I don't think I could single out just one. And I'll tell you why. Because I've met all these families, and each one of them is just, so I have right now, who's interning for me, a young lady who just finished her first year of college, Megan Taylor.
Okay.
Megan's dad died in Afghanistan, Major Brent Taylor. His wife, Jenny Taylor, is a mother of 7 kids. And why do I say this one I'm talking to you about? Because my family, one of 7 kids.
Yeah, okay.
So I know I know the inner workings,
dynamic of it.
The dynamics of 7 kids inside of a household.
Got it.
And I couldn't imagine my mother having to raise 7 kids by herself. You know what I mean? By herself. Now, don't get me wrong. Megan has, Jenny Taylor has tremendous amount of support around her. Her sister's beautiful, whole family. I mean, on both sides, on the brother, the husband's side, and then her side. The family is tremendous. She started a tremendous foundation in honor of her husband, and she does something with Gold Star Families.
Really?
Yes, and she brings them to Washington and everything. She's just a dynamic, beautiful person. And I have an unbelievable relationship with them. But, I know so many that served both as a police officer and as in the military, a Marine, Christopher Slutman, who was a New York City firefighter and also Marine, died in Afghanistan, left behind 3 daughters. His wife Shannon, I'm very good. I'm
friends with them.
Oh my God, I'm so friendly with so many of these widows. It's we lost a couple guys in a helicopter crash in western Syria. They said it was Iraq, but it was Western Syria.
Okay.
They were on some kind of a mission, right? So, Rebecca Briggs and Chris and the widow Rebecca and Carmela Raguso, I'm so close to them and their kids. Like
it's like family now for you.
Look, I have a picture right over there of the 2 of them, and it's right behind. They sent me that beautiful picture, I love them. I love them. I love so many of these, there's so many stories that I could tell of so many of these great families. And like the catastrophically injured guys, I mean, some are like sons to me. You know what I mean? They bust me and I bust them. It's a great relationship. So it's hard to single any one of them out because they're all so special to me and to the foundation. And the beautiful thing is that there's so many people inside the Tunnel to Towers Foundation have these relationships with these great heroes. They go out with them dinner, they meet them, somewhere. In some ways, it's better than having the relationship with me because they can spend more time with them when they come in time. Yes, it kills me that, you know what I mean? Like I'm pulled in a million different directions.
Yeah.
Always have time to spend with all these great families, but they build these relationships inside with so many people who work for the foundation.
It's beautiful.
We're blessed. Look, we have tens and tens and tens of thousands of volunteers. We're blessed. All over America, we have.
That was my question. I was going to ask you how the organization seems much bigger now that I'm here and I'm talking to you. I didn't realize.
Well, look
how big you are.
Well, we deliver over 200 mortgage-free homes a year.
So that's
once
just
again,
fantastic.
and that doesn't count what we're doing in the homeless veteran.
So 200 mortgage-free homes a year.
Over 200.
Over 200.
Over 200.
Not counting
the homeless veteran initiative that we're doing.
Wow.
That program.
Not counting the homeless people. So
right.
And you just said you're on track for 5,000 on that, right?
5,000. 5,000.
So how can you remember all these people, Frank?
I don't.
Yeah.
And nor will I claim. But my assistant remembers a lot of them. And before I walk up to them, she'll go, "That's so and so." I know the faces. But come on, we're all guys here.
It's hard. It's hard.
You're good with it? Yeah, I'm terrible with names, but I know people for sure. So I'm blessed in all the relationships I have with these great people.
It's great. Mr. Siller, I was going to ask you, and we touched on it briefly, you mentioned
Am I that old you keep on calling me Mr. Siller? It's pretty bad when...
Frank?
Frank, yes.
Frank.
All right, whatever you feel comfortable.
I feel comfortable now. Now, it took you too long to say that, though.
Well, I just realized it then, because my brother was a teacher. My brother on the right there, he was a professor, and that's Mr. Siller, or my father's Mr. Siller. I'm still
not you.
I'm still young. I'm only in the 70s.
What's your thoughts on the anti-law enforcement climate that we live in nowadays?
Well, so I'll always tell you, I stay apolitical as a foundation, but that ain't political. To back somebody in law enforcement is not political. It is out and out travesty. It's disgusting.
It is.
It's just uncalled for. I mean, who's the first person people call when they're in trouble? Never makes me laugh. Some of these people that serve in the Congress or the Senate or what. They have armed guards around them.
And they say defund the police and everything, but they have their own security.
Yeah, they have all the security. It's
hypocritical.
So hypocritical, and God forbid something happens to someone in their family. Who are they going to call? They're going to call the police. Mm-hmm. So it's I say that when as a kid growing up, you were told and taught how to respect somebody in a uniform. It was simple, right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. That's how you should talk.
No kidding.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Not what's going on. You see what's going on the streets here in New York. It's disgusting. Some people coming from other countries that punching and kicking or stabbing a police officer, and they get back on the street the next day. So it's a lot of who's in charge that are causing this problem, but it really stems down to the family. It's up to the family to make sure you teach your kids the respect.
Manners and respect.
Just simple little things go a long way in life. Instead of teaching them to spit on the ground, where our law enforcement walk, they should kiss the freaking ground that cops, walk on, because without them, we don't have a society. Unless you have law and order, you don't have a society. America will break down completely, and it's been on its way for the last several years. There's no question about it. But I have the full faith in our country and American people, and certainly the ones I deal with all the time.
I know
they just love America so much, and they get it. And I do believe that sometimes it swings too far one way.
Well, it's a pendulum, yeah. So
yeah, but sometimes the pendulum goes too far.
Way too far, and it's got to come back.
Way too far. It's way too far.
It's way out here right now. It's got to turn at some point. After 9/11, the patriotic feeling in this country was at its highest point, right? And now it seems like it's just completely gone away, and that's sad.
And but right before 9/11, it wasn't quite like that. I tell you, I have faith once again in our country, and I believe that if there was something like this again, you'd see America rise and come together. And what really comes down to it. Sometimes you have internal fighting with a friend or family or whatever, but and somebody else does something to your friend or family.
Someone outside the family.
Yeah,
it's all against everybody.
You just come together. And I think I know America would do that. And it's proof. Look what happened after 9/11. Mm-hmm. Everyone didn't think that the next generation could step up and go to war and fight for our freedoms and our,
Right.
But they did.
Sure they did.
They did, and they did it in such a beautiful way. And it's an old volunteer army. Back, my day, with the draft,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it was a lottery. Draft. I was over 1971. They didn't call anyone from 1971. I was at over 300 in the draft when I was picked.
Okay.
And I was never called. But before that, everyone, you had no choice. You got drafted. You had to go.
You had to register.
Now it's all volunteer. It's all volunteer, and this was attack on our soil, on different what was in World War II. Where you had a draft, and everybody had to go. And it's funny that you're interviewing me on the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
I know.
Of D-Day, and I know so many guys that are over there. I was invited.
Oh, were you?
I was invited to go, fly over, and to jump. With some of the guys. You ever hear the 12?
I saw something this morning on TV. The guy that they recreated his jump into Normandy or whatever it was. So
well, you have thousands and thousands of them jumping today.
I didn't know.
You ever hear the 12 Horsemen? They rode into Afghanistan right after 9/11. They had a movie, 12 Strong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they're over there, and
right.
They invited me to
cool.
to fly with them and to jump with them, and I respectfully declined. I said 2 reasons why I'm not going to do it. Number one, I didn't serve. I wasn't drafted, right? So I didn't go. So
okay.
I didn't serve, so I don't feel like I'm
entitled or
entitled.
Okay.
I don't think
that's fair.
I should not be with them. Those who
that was their thing.
should do it. You know what I mean? I have the utmost respect for them. And the second, I ain't jumping out on any effing plane.
That's what
And I said to them, maybe my number 2 is number 1, and like that. So they got a big kick out of that. But they were trying to get me to go over, but I really didn't feel like I had.
Well, that's an honor that you were invited there.
It was an honor to be invited, and I've been blessed to meet so many great heroes
and patriots.
Patriots, people that have given so much, and will be willing to go give it again. That's for sure. And you know about all these injured guys, the catastrophically injured guys? They would do it all over again. Every single one of them. Not one of them says to me, never once did any of them say to me, I wish I never signed up. I shouldn't have done this. Everyone said, if I could go do it again, I'd do it again. It's crazy.
That tells you a lot about their character.
And America's character.
Damn right it does.
And America's character. And that's why I say, I have no doubt that there was a call to duty again, America would
rise up to the challenge. I want to ask you a quick question about some of your famous people that you have on your commercials. And we were kind of talking about it this morning. I said, well, I saw Conor McGregor with you. We saw Rip from
Cole
Hauser. And then I saw Jelly Roll this morning, I didn't even know he was with you guys. I saw that this morning. And we were kind of joking about it. So I was just wondering, how do you get these guys to come do your commercials? Mark Wahlberg was one I see most of the time.
Mark Wahlberg was the first
okay.
Real celebrity that came and did a PSA for us. And because Mark did it, I really believe that others have
jumped on board.
Yeah, I guess a lot of them might be afraid to come to an organization that, sad to say, right, supports police officers
and patriots. Yeah.
Well, the military. I don't think anyone would.
They're not beating up the military. Just law enforcement gets
beating
crushed,
up law enforcement. So, but Mark is all about that and stuff. So, and once again, most America supports law enforcement.
Yeah.
So it's the few.
It's a small percent, right?
It's the few that cause the biggest problems in America.
Yeah.
It's really upsetting. But that being said, when Mark did that. I always thought that maybe others might come. And why is it important that a celebrity come on board? It's because they have unbelievable followings. Of
course.
And I need to raise $11 a month from as many people as possible. So I want to reach as many, and I don't care how I reach them, in the proper way, you should say that.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And Mark Wahlberg really started it all. And because of it, there's no doubt, Cole Hauser had come on board. Conor McGregor has been helping me. He has a whiskey, Proper 12.
Proper 12, right? Yeah.
We get, for every case he sells, we get money from every case he sells.
That's fantastic.
Right, and he's been doing it. Millions of dollars.
Wow.
Millions of dollars he has donated, and he's done other things with us for sure. You had Rob Lowe recently just did
Portnoy.
Dave Portnoy is a great story because, you know, I knew what he did. I heard what he did. I'm not a big social media guy, so
Okay.
for me, I don't know a lot of people, right? And even a lot of professional athletes. I don't follow really a lot of professional sports, all right?
Gotcha.
So when I heard Dave Portnoy, and I talked to him we did a Zoom, and then I found out afterwards, you know, I asked my assistant to help me get me ready, you know, for this talk, you know, conversation.
Right.
And I found out that he did so much during COVID,
yeah.
and he helped so many businesses that were struggling, you know, to keep their employees and stuff. I said, wow. I said, that's great. I think he's, you know, and then I found out how many followers he had. I said, that's even better.
Huge, yeah.
And then he has a dog named Peaches. Yeah.
And?
And it's funny, my friend Dennis Quaid,
Dennis Quaid, okay.
All right, Dennis Quaid, who's a really good friend. He has a dog named Peaches. And I was laughing because, you know, it'll be the battle of Peaches, the same type of looking dogs. But in any case, Portnoy did a tremendous PSA for us. He told it like it is, and he put it out there with his followers, and it's
amazing.
It's been amazing. But like I mentioned, Dennis Quaid there, Andy Pettit from the Yankees, David Wells. You know, so many others have joined us.
Well, it's really great to see, and obviously you're expanding and growing and getting bigger, and more people are starting to notice. And you've been doing it for 2 years now or something?
So 23.
23 years. So it's really fantastic what you're doing on that. I only have one more question for you, Mr. Frank Siller. Everybody sees you on television, and we see you with these famous people. But the question is, when the TV cameras aren't rolling on you and you're out of the public spotlight, who is Frank Siller when he walks in his house at night and puts his phone down?
A father and a grandfather, and a husband, and a brother to my siblings, and a friend to many, because I have a lot of great friends. I try to make every one of I can't make every one of them, but I make a tremendous amount of my grandkids' games. Little again, my grandson, 11 years old, just hit his first home run the other day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Over the fence.
Parked
not a little league home
It was a
run.
bomb.
Well, it gets longer and longer every day, the shot. I love being around my grandchildren. I have 7 of them. I've been blessed. As a human being, I can't ask for anything else in life than what I've been able to have in my life, and to see, and to have so many special people. And no matter where I go, there's a great inspiring story that I'm around. So, you know, but last but not least, I am a very spiritual person. I count on my faith on everything. I make my decisions based on what my Maker would want me to do, and it makes the decisions very easy.
That's, when you say spiritual, have you ever gotten a sign from your brother? Spiritual, like some people say sometimes I see a cardinal or a bird. Have you ever experienced anything with that with spiritual with your brother? I'm just wondering if
I've had many dreams about my brother, for sure, as the rest of my siblings have. I've had so many signs from above. It's been, like I said before, it's been easy to make these decisions. So when we say we're going to do this and this door opens up, when we decided to have the first run through the tunnel, and I was able to get a meeting with the Department of Transportation, DOT, with the commissioner, and the first meeting, I tell my brother's story, that he was orphaned by age 10. My parents died when he was a little boy, that his older siblings raised him. That he came back to Staten Island as he got older and met the girl next door he used to walk to school with when he got married and had 5 kids. Right? He became a firefighter. Yeah. I tell him this story, and within a few minutes, the guy gets up around the table, he's crying, and he says, we're going to close that tunnel for you. We're going to close the streets for you. And he calls the guy up at Bridge and Tunnel, and the guy right then and there says he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And then he calls somebody else to be the race director, to help me put the race on, because I never put a race on.
Right.
And it was somebody I went to high school with. So God keeps on sending me people, You know, I say, my brother Stephen has his right ear. He says, he needs help. He needs, you know, and he's laughing though, because he's keeping his siblings very busy. He's keeping, and believe me, he was a big buster. The buster of all busters was my brother Steve. And believe me, I could be one too, but he was a pro. I was little league compared to him.
He was the master.
He was. Yes, so he's always sending signs. There's no question about it.
Great.
On everything we do. That's why it's easy decisions.
This is my real last question.
That's what you said 10 minutes ago.
This is my real last question.
I wouldn't have had this cramp if you let up 10 minutes ago. Look at it. His neck is hurting.
We love Chris. Chris is our good guy here. Where do you see your charity 10 years from now?
It's a simple answer. Doing more work than we do now.
Anything new?
No, we're going to stick just with what we're doing.
Okay.
There's not enough hours in the day for us to complete.
To do what you're doing already.
You think about it, there's always going to be homeless vets. So we want to eradicate it. So I don't care how many we do every single year, there'll be new ones each year. You see there's how many police officers get killed in the line of duty every single year, right? They're always going to have that. And if firefighters run into buildings, they're not going to stop running into buildings, and how many of them die? Right. So, and we're going to go to war again. That's a guarantee. Mm-hmm. So there's always going to be Gold Star families that we're going to have to help. So we have our work cut out for us forever. Mm-hmm. And I think if we stay just focused on what we're doing right now, you know, and the mental health part of it, you know what I mean, with the homeless veterans and taking care of these heroes and the families that are left behind, it's an enormous undertaking. It's an enormous undertaking, and I think we're going to just stay focused on that. And we know we know what we're supposed to be doing, and our work is cut out for us.
Well, what you're doing can't even be put into words. It's amazing. Every time I hear these stories, I'm more impressed with your organization, and I have been for many years. And again, I was happy to be in contact with Colonel Callahan when I heard about what you did with Sean.
Good man.
Yeah, and I said, God, I got to get in touch with you right away, because I really love what you're doing, and you should be very proud. I'm sure your brother is extremely proud of what you've done in his memory. And thank you very much for taking time out of your day, Mr. Siller. I appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah.
And stay safe.
Who's all the celebrities? Who's the coolest one?
No, I'm not going to answer that. I know better than that.